It's Dark Age by Jupiter! 6th century! This changes everything.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the most notable archaeological findings that caused historians to rethink the past.
That was exciting. One of the best moments in my career.
Number 10. Olduvai Gorge. This isn't one specific archaeological location, but an entire locality housing some of the most important works relating to paleoanthropology, or the study of early humans. Found in the northeast corner of Tanzania, Olduvai Gorge has been invaluable in our understanding of early human culture and evolution.
Telling us is that there's a lot out there to be found, that we actually don't have the whole story of human evolution.
Researchers have unearthed ancient stone tools and hominid fossils. Occupation of the site is believed to stretch back nearly 2 million years, when it was inhabited by an archaic human species called Homo habilis.
And then these other things, which are generally termed Homo habilis after the species that Louis Leakey named at Olduvai in 1960.
Without Olduvai Gorge and its riches of archaeological material, our understanding of archaic humans would be much more limited. Number 9. The Cave of Altamira. If you're interested in early humanity, then you cannot go wrong with the Cave of Altamira.
This is the Museum of Altamira. It was built right next to the cave, where the original cave paintings dating back to the Paleolithic era were discovered. The original cave has been closed to preserve its archaeologically important remains.
Archaeology has uncovered many notable caves relating to ancient humanity, including Lascaux and another in the small Spanish town of Ardales. But nothing beats Altamira. Also located in Spain, this cave houses numerous prehistoric drawings and paintings, most of which depict local animals. After the site was discovered in 1868, the suggestion that the paintings were prehistoric was met with some skepticism, not only owing to the nature of the drawings, but also because no other prehistoric cave art was known to exist in Europe.
We're also interested in whether or not human symbolic behavior coincides, for example, with language, or whether human symbolic behavior in fact dates right back to the point at which we start looking like humans.
But the research eventually prevailed, and it's now believed that the paintings are around 36,000 years old. Number 8. The Serapeum of Alexandria. Serving as the greatest library of its age, the Library of Alexandria attracted scholars to Egypt and served as the ancient world's symbol of knowledge.
In its prime, the Library of Alexandria housed an unprecedented number of scrolls and attracted some of the Greek world's greatest minds.
It proved so popular that a so-called daughter library was later created called the Serapeum of Alexandria. The Serapeum lasted a bit longer than its famous father, and it was finally destroyed in the year 391. The site later became a Muslim cemetery. In the mid-1940s, the foundations of the Serapeum were discovered, and with it, one of the greatest centers of learning in human history was unearthed. Number 7. The Terracotta Army. This is one of the most significant archaeological finds of all time, and it was discovered completely by accident.
And they find some pieces of the pottery. They also find the head of the terracotta warriors, and the archaeological team came to this area and they start to dig.
The Terracotta Army was first uncovered in the Shanxi province of western China by a group of farmers in the 1970s. The army resides within a tomb constructed over 2,200 years ago as the resting place of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, which is why it's so elaborate.
He was its first emperor, and his empire became his fortress, protected by a great wall. The legend says he was a tyrant, driven mad by power.
In the parts we've been able to excavate, there are over 8,000 soldiers made out of clay, there to guard Emperor Qin in the afterlife.
Row upon row of warriors, hundreds of secret subterranean soldiers, all life-sized and built to be immortal.
But even more astonishing is the fact that the entire necropolis is believed to be almost 40 square miles in size, with most of the site hidden in vaults that aren't yet accessible. Number 6. Tutankhamun's tomb.
Tutankhamun's burial chamber is filled with magical decoration. But beside it, the rest of the tomb is left bare. This simple tomb is unlike any other royal tomb in the valley.
The Valley of the Kings is the final resting place of many ancient Egyptian pharaohs, but throughout its history, a number of tombs have fallen victim to grave robbers.
This is the Egyptian red list of the missing pieces. We are already missing from museums and sites and everywhere in Egypt, and we give it to Interpol to stop any piece of them if they're moving from a country to a country.
Tutankhamun's tomb was different. Remarkably, though grave robbers did break in shortly after it was initially sealed up, most of its contents were intact when archaeologists found it in 1922.
Over 5,000 priceless artifacts, including golden statues. In the burial chamber, the pharaoh's mummy, wearing a golden death mask, was placed inside a coffin made of more than 200 pounds of solid gold.
Today, Tutankhamun's gilded mask makes him arguably the most famous and recognizable pharaoh in history. Considering Tutankhamun only reigned for about 10 years and died between the young ages of 18 and 19, that is quite the legacy.
This modest tomb was jammed full of all the royal possessions that were usually buried with a king.
It can't have been meant to be all jumbled up like that. People are just trying to cram as much stuff as possible.
Along with the mask, the tomb also contained a statue of Anubis, the god of the dead, and a dagger made from a fallen meteor. Number 5. Lucy. Several famous fossils have revolutionized our view of early hominins. Discovered in 1924 in South Africa, the Taung child, a skull of an Australopithecus africanus, was described as, quote, the missing link between ape and human. Although anthropologists initially resisted the idea that humans had evolved in Africa.
Some scientists even went so far as to suggest it was perhaps just a baby gorilla and that the Taung child would bear little out on anything other than the origins of apes themselves.
Eclipsing the Taung child in renown is Lucy, the 3.2 million-year-old remains of an Australopithecus afarensis. Unearthed in 1974 in Ethiopia, she was named after the Beatles song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which the research team was playing on repeat. The completeness of her remains gave us much more information on the evolution of bipedalism and brain size.
We now have 400 specimens of Lucy's species Australopithecus afarensis, named after the Afar region. And we know that there are very large individuals, which were males, and the smaller ones are certainly females.
In 1994, Arti, the skeleton of an Ardipithecus ramidus, thought to be 4.4 million years old, was also found in Ethiopia, becoming the most complete early hominid specimen ever discovered.
The pelvis reconstruction has confirmed that Ardipithecus was bipedal, a major step forward in the investigation.
Number 4. The Library of Ashurbanipal. Famous writer H.G. Wells once called the Library of Ashurbanipal, quote, the most precious source of historical material in the world. And he wasn't far off. English historian and traveler Austin Henry Layard found the ancient library in the remains of a palace in 1849.
While the actual building had been destroyed, many of the library's old texts were still intact, though most were in fragments.
It consisted of over 30,000 clay tablets, which provided an enormous wealth of information relating to ancient civilizations of the Middle East. The tablets date to the 7th century BCE. Perhaps the greatest find within the Library of Ashurbanipal was the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is widely considered to be the oldest piece of literature in human history.
Inscribed on crumbling clay tablets was a 4,000-year-old story, so riveting the first person to translate it started stripping from excitement.
Number 3. Sutton Hoo. One of the most remarkable medieval graves anywhere in Europe was excavated in England in 1939.
Well, I'd say it's the biggest archaeological discovery ever made in this country. So it is an immense responsibility to look after the site, but also really what we're trying to do at Sutton Hoo is tell more people about it.
The owner of an estate in Suffolk, Edith Pretty, enlisted some archaeologists to find out what was underneath the burial mounds on her property. What they uncovered was astounding. So much so that the story inspired a 2021 film, The Dig.
That's a ship.
How do you mean a ship?
Well, that's a ship that's been buried in the mound.
Why would anyone want to bury a ship?
Well, I expect because that's a grave.
The most promising mound contained an entire long ship and innumerable artifacts, including pieces of armor made of gold and other Anglo-Saxon relics. Though it's one of the UK's most impressive archaeological discoveries, it's still not entirely clear whose grave it actually is.
Shortly after the inquest, which ruled that all the items found in the Sutton Hoo burial mound lawfully belonged to Edith Pretty, Pretty donated the entire collection to the British Museum. It's among the most valuable donations of its kind, and the collection itself remains at the heart of the museum.
Most evidence suggests it was the final resting place of a famous East Anglian king, Redwald, who ruled the region around 1400 years ago. Number 2. Pompeii. Among the most famous ruins in the world, Pompeii was destroyed by a devastating eruption from Mount Vesuvius in the year 79 AD. The village was left forgotten until the 16th century, over 1,500 years later, because it had been completely buried underneath volcanic ash.
It took just 18 hours for Pompeii to be buried under millions of tons of volcanic ash and pumice. An entire living city wiped out.
But that ash kept Pompeii largely intact when it was finally excavated, with people frozen in place where they died during the disaster.
The point is we have a great opportunity here because we have a snapshot of the society. We might have slaves, we might have upper-class people, and we can find out if there have been big differences.
Today, it's one of Italy's most popular tourist attractions and a tremendous source of Roman history. As tragic as the story is, Pompeii has taught us more about Roman life than many other ancient archaeology sites anywhere in the world.
Pompeii has regained its pride and continues to share its stories with people from all around the world.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Rosetta Stone. For centuries, archaeologists had absolutely no idea how to decipher ancient Egypt's complex hieroglyphics.
Jean-Francois Champollion in France and Thomas Young in Britain both believed that the Rosetta Stone, as it was called, held the key to deciphering hieroglyphs. But the Rosetta Stone did not yield its secrets easily.
Without a starting point, they were unable to understand the inscriptions on Egyptian monuments and artifacts. But that all changed with the discovery of the long-lost Rosetta Stone in 1799, an enormous slab of stone inscribed with everything needed to start translating.
This seemingly insignificant rock would forever change our understanding of mankind's past.
The text it contained wasn't actually all that interesting, but the same passage was written 3 times in different languages, and one of those languages was Ancient Greek.
The Greek section told of the tablet having the same information written in all 3. While Greek was easily understood, several obstacles stood in the way of using it to translate the 2 Egyptian scripts.
By using the Greek, which is still widely understood by researchers, we were able to decipher the hieroglyphics and unlock the secrets of ancient Egyptian writing. Which of these archaeological discoveries fascinates you the most? Let us know in the comments.
This stone offers great interest for the study of hieroglyphic characters. Perhaps it will even give us the key at last.